We're getting live. Here we are. Good afternoon, Crystal. How are you?
I'm good. Rested
Good.
from a nice little vacation, little holiday there, and
Yeah,
to the next big one, which is in a couple weeks.
there you go.
So
Good for
looking
you.
forward to it.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah,
Hmm.
I had a nice mellow Thanksgiving. I think I overdid it a little bit before Thanksgiving, but that was good.
Oh, okay. It was good to overdo it before Thanksgiving.
I don't know how that worked, but it worked out that way. I was able to recover on Thanksgiving
Okay.
Day, so that worked out well.
Well, that's good. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good to have a little break.
yeah. Well, I'm
Yeah.
pretty excited about our topic today, things that people are worrying about with regard to the election. I've got five of them that we're going to talk about. And
Okay.
this is a show for people that are what we call pre-retirees. They are planning for their retirement and just kind of wanted to give them some things to think about. And not only that, but some strategies with regard to what to do about them. So we'll spend a little bit of time on each one. I've got about five to take a look at. So before we do
Okay.
that, I'm going to read your bio, and then we can get started.
All
How's
right.
that?
Sounds fantastic.
Cool. So everyone, please help me welcome my friend and colleague, Crystal Mitchell. She is a business coach and consultant. She's the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions, a co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, also a co-host of The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. That's another weekly online radio show. She's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College, a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor, and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Hey, Crystal, how you doing?
Hey. Good to see you. Good to see everyone out there. Hope you all had a wonderful holiday season.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, let's jump right in. Five topics. I'll just go over the five of them. One, Social Security. Two, healthcare. Three, economic volatility. Four, tax policy. And then lastly, rising inflation. So, huh, any concerns of those for you ever?
Yeah, because from what one is hearing, that one doesn't know until the new administration gets into office, that based upon the Project 25, they're going to be reallocating one Social Security money somewhere else. That's what I'm hearing. And so which is interesting because that's your money. You work for that money.
Yeah.
They ain't their money. There was no handout. That was money that was actually withdrawn from your paychecks. If you started
Yes.
at 16, 14, and it accumulates over a 35-year period that you worked, or whenever you decide it's time for retirement, but it is yours.
Yes. It was
So
promised to you. Yeah.
it was promised. You worked for it. It ain't promise. You worked for that. That was you could have left my Social Security there, and I put it in my own deposited account and saved it and got a good return and put it somewhere for my own retirement if that's what I was gonna do. But yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Okay. Well, a lot of people feel the same way. You are
Yeah,
not alone there. There's a
yeah,
lot of folks who, whoops, I lost my camera.
yeah.
There I am.
There you
So
are.
there's a lot of folks who think you should do just that, privatize Social Security. Um, uh, truth be known, I think the last time I checked, I think we have one to two people now supporting every person that is on Social Security with their dollars. So it is an interesting subject, and it's interesting that you brought that up because that is the first one we want to talk about. And the concerns we have are, okay, what are we going to do with uh, dwindling the Social Security assets if that's what happens, right?
Right.
As a retirement plan advisor, of course, my suggestion is that we diversify those income sources or income sources that we're going to have in retirement. So, Social Security is great. We're not sure what's going to happen to that. I personally think it's still going to be there, although it may change forms. So that means maximizing your 401k and your IRA is a great thing, getting that as an income stream. And then if you can, if you have a business, using that as an income stream as well, and I would say also insurance products, get familiar with annuities. That can be another income stream for you. So the idea is to diversify your income stream so that you're not reliant upon one, especially Social Security. And for folks that are about ready to retire, like within the next 2 to 3 years, they really need to get with a financial advisor and see how it is they can maximize their contributions to their IRAs, to their 401ks, to that insurance policy, really put together a plan as to what kind of income you're going to have, and start that conversation, I would say yesterday, about how do I generate income. I just had a conversation with a lady a little bit ago, a couple of days ago, about this very same thing. What do I do? How do I diversify my income sources? So definitely want to do that. Okay, next one on the list is healthcare affordability. And that's just been a bugaboo for many of us for a long time. How do you afford healthcare? And I'm going to be just honest with you. I don't have any good answers for that. So we have no idea what healthcare is going to be, right? But it is good to have some money set aside for that. I'm a big believer in the emergency fund, and so when it comes to healthcare, understand it's going to happen. Take a look at that family history. Do the best plan you can for what you think is going to happen, that kind of thing. If your family tends to live for a long time, we need to make sure we include that in the mix with regard to how much we're saving. If your family plans to die of heart attacks at year 55, that's a different scenario, right? A very, very different scenario. So you have to kind of look at what's going on in your life specifically, and then put that in the budget. You can go online and you can find out what average healthcare is going to cost folks, and kind of tailor that to your life, and then put that money in a place where it's going to be there, where maybe it goes a little bit more conservatively, since you so that you always have it. Also realize that healthcare doesn't generally always come all at one time, So, and then when I'm talking about healthcare, I'm talking about you're going to the doctor to find something out, and they find something, where you're going to hopefully recover and get on with your life. But that's not the only thing for us to think about. We also have to think of those end of life type situations where you're thinking of going into a home or not going into a home, or you're thinking of having someone take care of you, and so it's for those reasons that we have people in the tweener generations, where they're taking care of grandma and or grandpa, as well as taking care of their kids, and they're squeezed and they're trying to figure out, how am I supposed to take care of myself? Well, not planning on your health care, not saving money for that, puts those folks in that position. So we can say, let's stop that train. Let's stop that issue right now if we can. Start putting away some money so that you don't put people in that position. I think a lot of us had the idea that, well, they owe it to me. Well, they might. They might owe taking care of you. That doesn't mean it's going to happen in the way that you want it to. So you gotta
the only really biggest issue on that one is if you already have chronic illnesses, or you're going through cancer treatment and things like that, where you actually have a pre-existing health condition, that could be a problem, because you may not be able to get any other health insurance. That was part of what the Affordable Cares Act, not the Obamacare, the Affordable Cares Act is, was you could have a pre-existing and you would have health insurance. And so, those that have pre-existings could have a big problem. And health insurance in this country is not cheap. My business partner, when got COVID and he had to be hospitalized, go to the hospital, and just in the 5 days he was there, he incurred $150,000 in
Yeah.
hospital debt. And I don't think, you know, it's wonderful that we can save money, but however, $150,000 is a lot of money. That's more than some people make in a lifetime. So,
Yeah.
And thank God for the CARES Act, because it actually um, it was, set up so that it could pay for, or you could, report, whatever they would pay for it. So um, that's that. So
Yeah, and I would just add to that there are lots of alternative insurance companies out there that are offering self-paid insurance. I don't want to name names, but um, insurance that's outside of your company's main insurance policy. It's a great idea to look at that, just especially depending on your situation, and also start planning early. I know folks that are have children that they are mentally and or physically challenged, and are going to need someone to take care of them once the parents aren't able to do that. So having conversations with your financial advisor about how do we set up a fund so that we can get some money so that they can be taken care of, very, very important, and very important to start early on that. And so even if you're not in your 40s or 50s, taking a look ahead of time so that you can get ready for it is really, really important. So my favorite thing is plans. You got to make the plan. Start early if you can. And that leads us into the next topic, of course, on my list, which is economic volatility. And we always have economic volatility. It doesn't matter if it's a new administration or not. We live in a dynamic world and we have a dynamic economy. The market's going to go up and down. Our economy is going to go up and down. It's a cycle, some of us say. So we should expect economic volatility. That's going to happen. So what do you do when the market's going up and down and you're on a fixed income?
Yeah. It's I feel for people who don't have the ability to continue to work. Those of us that are entrepreneurs. I am of age to receive my Social Security, but I work and it's my business, so I generate the revenue that I need, the income that I need in order to take care of myself. But there may be a time, by the time I get to be 70, I might want my Social Security, and Medicare is a game changer as far as insurance premium, because my insurance premium was in the four figures, and with a four-figure deductible. So I never used it because I just paid for it, which means I dump. And a lot of people are in that situation where they're dumping money into a policy, but they had to go with a very, very high deductible in order to get just to make sure that they had coverage. Because now you get penalized for not having coverage. So you had it, but you never used it, which means that the likelihood you're not going for preventative care. You just go when you get really sick, and by that time now you're in the millions and millions of dollars because you couldn't afford it on either end. So it's just kind of a challenge there.
I think you're bringing up an excellent point. Is and just another thing to add to that is we should probably bring that lady back that talked about Medicare, and especially out here in California, Medi-Cal, and out here in California, but Medicare in general, the Part B and C, and how that works for folks and how you can get the help that you need. There are people there to help you get the help that you need. I guess is what I'm trying to say. So let's make a plan to bring her back and talk about that.
Yeah, that'd be great. For both of those, because if the changes are going to take place, then I don't know what the backup plan is, but one should just be at least aware of what that could look like. But it could be, it could be devastating in some cases because some
Oh,
people,
yeah.
that's the only income that they have is their Social Security.
Mhm. As an advisor, I tell folks every day we need to make sure that your risk tolerance is correct. So, I'm a big believer in taking that risk questionnaire so we know what your risk is. And then as you're thinking about investing, you have to think about balancing your risk with the need to grow those assets and the amount of security that you need. So when
Mm-hmm.
we talk about less volatile versus more volatile, and we talk about growth and security, um, you really have to pay attention to where it is that you're putting your money. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
know if you have a target date fund, I don't have a problem with that. That's great. But know kind of where that risk tolerance is and what it's doing. And also make sure that if you do have a target date fund, make sure that 5, maybe 6 or 7 years before you retire, you connect with your financial advisor in your retirement plan and ask them to help you put together a plan on how it is you're going to convert those assets into uh, assets you plan to live on. What's your plan to get that done? Because the
Right.
worst thing in the world is to think about retirement once you've retired.
Yeah.
That's not a good strategy. That just doesn't work very well. So let's
No.
plan for that. Let's plan for the transition and also plan what we're going to do after the transition and make sure when expect the economic volatility and understand what that can do for you.
Mm-hmm.
Also, with regard to how it makes your pocketbook look during the transition time there. So,
Exactly. I
yeah. Okay.
agree.
The next one I have on my list is tax policy uncertainty. How do you handle not knowing what the taxes are going to be? Well, I can guarantee you the taxes are going to go up, right? They're not going to go down. So so as they go up, and as that how they go up, right? The ways that they go up. As a pre-retiree, what do you do? Right? The only thing we can do now, I think, is again diversify our assets into some things that don't cost us taxes now, but you got to keep your eye on the ball, right? It's not like
Mm-hmm.
you can set something up right now and expect that for the rest of the time that you're going to be on this earth that it's going to stay the same. But I would say um, take a look at diversifying your portfolio into places where you can right now withdraw those assets without paying taxes. So, for
Mm.
example, if you're in a 401k plan, if you have that ability, then investing or 403b plan, some type of qualified employer plan. Most of those offer Roth contributions. And so there are some folks who say that you should only do the Roth. There are some folks who say that you should only do the Roth if you're young. There are some folks who say that you should not do the Roth because you don't know what the government's going to do. I'm going to say I don't like any of those for everyone. So it's
Yeah.
very good to evaluate what's important to you and what your plan is going to be. And I would say most financial advisors suggest you have both Roth and traditional.
Mm-hmm.
As it stands right now, you can pull monies out of the Roth fund, a Roth IRA or a Roth section of your 401k. As long as you've
Mm-hmm.
had the account for 5 years, you can pull that money out without paying penalties or taxes on it after 59 and a half. So that's something to keep in mind, put some money in the Roth type account. Or there are some insurance plans that you can talk with your financial advisor about getting those and setting those up, and some things you can do with annuities and things like that. So I would say diversifying your tax status with
Mm-hmm.
different vehicles that are taxed or not taxed right now, and then stay on that bubble. Stay stay aware of how the tax law is going to change and how that might change how you pull monies out. But most assuredly, we really want to diversify our tax strategy right now. Some taxable events or some taxable um, vehicles and some taxable, non-taxable vehicles is what I'm talking about with regard
Right.
to receiving assets. So that's tax policy, diversify.
Mhm.
Okay, the last one on my list, the bugaboo, the one that we're all excited about, is what do we do with inflation?
That one is like throwing some numbers in a hat and hoping you pull out the right number because the truth is, if there are tariffs placed on um, various countries that majority of, depending on where you live, we're in California, but majority of our fruits and vegetables come from Mexico. Our
Yes.
lumber comes from Canada.
Yeah.
And every other thing we get comes from China, which
A lot of it
means
does.
that everything in your household is going to go up at least by 10, 15, 20%.
Very possible. Very, very possible.
And yeah, and then I think I heard yesterday or early today or whenever the news comes in so rapidly these days, 100% on all countries that don't comply or whatever he said, some craziness, but 100% tariff on everybody else. So
Oh,
that
wow.
creates a problem in this country.
It is. It is.
That creates a problem. So I don't know. I'm supposed to do a presentation on that one next week. Um, Basically, I think people should be buying whatever they can buy now to store, and hopefully you can be able to buy at least 6 months to a year of stuff that could potentially, like toilet paper and things like that. Um, so kind of like we did for the pandemic, we just got to be prepared for what is called another pandemic. It's
Yeah.
just going to be economic inflation pandemic, but that's what I would recommend people um, start stockpiling and putting things in place. I know when I was a kid. I don't know if you're a parent. You're in Arkansas, so I don't know if this. I mean, Alaska, so I don't know if this is one of your things. But when I lived in Buffalo, every winter we knew that the winter was going to be severe. It was
Right.
severe the whole entire time I lived in Buffalo. And so every August, and of course we way past that, but every August my mother would go out and buy fruits and vegetables and she would can them
Mm.
and she would store them and she would buy stock up on dry products because in the event that we couldn't get out, which happened a lot of times, that we'd be snowed in for 4 or 5 days until they could clean up the roads and it was safe to go out. And that's how we functioned for the winter. So a lot of people on the East Coast still practice that, but
Mm.
being able to stock up on those things, staple things that you need, medicine. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because if medicines are coming from other places, um, your cost of medicine is going to cost much more for simple stuff like cough syrups and um,
Yeah.
uh, things that you use, vitamins and things like that. So, be a good idea to stock up on that stuff because you just don't know.
You really don't. I think you're making an excellent point. When we think about stocking up, I'm trying to figure out how long would that be for, and I have no idea. I think we've gotten to the point. At least I've gotten to the point in my life where I just go to the store and get something.
Yeah, that's how most of us operate now. I mean, during the pandemic, we had to, unless you're my sister. My sister is always planning for the Armageddon, so uh, we have a whole stock room full. There's a storage room full of everything that she feels she's going to need. So she's going to be buying continuously for a little while.
Yeah.
But we have canned foods, we have things like that that we have, and that's just been her principle. Even well before the pandemic, she kind of started that steward up process. But a
Mhm.
lot of people don't function like that, and some people don't have the money to do that. So,
That's true.
but that is, and then another thing is, if this is going to get as bad as it could possibly get, people might want to look at consolidating their household and moving in with relatives, and at least you can share, um, the expenses, and you won't be alone, and you won't run out of stuff. So that's a thought too, which is a tough thought, but if it is, it is, because that's 4 years, potentially 4 years, could be eight. I don't know what eight would look like, but 4 years for sure. And I think you would feel the blunt of it by 2026. Whatever's gonna happen, we're gonna feel the blunt of it by 2026.
We'll be. Are you saying that we'll be in it come 2026? Yeah.
Because right now we're going to be, the first half is
Uh-huh.
going. The first year we're going to be living off of Biden's um, economy, which is
Mhm.
pretty good, although people think it's bad, but it's very, very good considering.
Mhm.
But by 26, 27, we're now in halfway into that, to his new term, and you're going to feel the crunch of it, because at that point, if the deportations take place, uh, that's 20 million people that are no longer contributing to the tax base.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot of people. Of course, some of those folks are taking from the tax base. I think, we have some generous, very, very generous services here, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it all has to be is all in the mix. But rest assured, I truly believe though that we are heading towards some, um, as the Chinese say, interesting times, right? So, and I, to be honest with you, do not know what to make of it. And part of me says we just have to wait and see what's going to happen. And then part of me says, oh, waiting and seeing is tough.
Excruciating.
It can be.
Well, here's what yeah, that's a true thing, waiting and seeing. But I have a excellent memory for the last 4 years, the last from 2016 and the last to 2020. I remember that 4 years. It was
Mm,
excruciating.
yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. I know.
It's not like if you were having a baby, you don't forget that pain. I can tell you
Right.
that.
Yeah. Our show is we're about to come to an end. We've hit that half hour mark. But I would caution folks, and then I'll let you get the last word. But I would say that one of the things I remember from the last presidency was a Canadian woman said to me when I was in LA at an event. She said, "One thing about Trump is he is shaking people out of their nonchalantness." Right? So she is making people. He's making people pay attention to what's going on, because lots of times we as Americans we can get complacent. We can get to the just not very caring about what's going on with our country, and Trump shook us up from that. And so I think we're heading for another shakeup, and I don't know how it's going to be. And to be honest with you, I think we're not going to resolve it quickly. I don't think we have just 4 years to deal with. I think we're going to have some major changes with how we do a lot of our lives down here, and it's going to take them a while to unravel. It's going to take them a while to come to fruition, because we do have Congress, they do have the purse. There's 450 some odd of them, so we've got some things that are going on there. But um, to your point, I think it's going to take us a while to unravel. And I'm going to say it right here and now. It's my personal opinion, but it is going to take us some time to unravel the things that, if things go as bad as we think they're going to go, uh, we'll be unraveling that for a while. So, unlike some people who think it's just 4 years or just 8 years, I think it's dramatically longer than that. Without being a doom and gloom kind of person, uh,
I think that's dealing with reality.
I think so.
We have to deal with reality, and based upon the individuals that are being put in place, um, and the ultimate goal of the new leader or the new president elect, his goal is never to come out.
Yeah, it is scary. I'm reminded of that poem written in World War II. When I think about the Jewish population there and that horrible, horrible thing that happened to them then. But at the end of the poem, the writer says, "By the time they came for me, there was no one left." And so we're definitely interested. We're definitely entering a time where we really want to look out for and connect with our neighbors across the state line, across the pond. I mean, we are all in this together. Our oceans are getting smaller, and our economy is getting more and more connected. And so it's not like you can just go someplace and not have to deal with what's happening in the next country or what have you. So it's definitely a time for us to come together as Americans and as people to to ride these waters.
Yes, for sure. Because this affects everyone. Um, Even though, I mean, it definitely affects all people of color, drastically, but it also affects people of that are not of color and that are not making over that $1 million line of revenue, or their network is not 1 million plus, and that might not even be enough money. But if you don't have that net worth that the people that are coming into power has, they're not even concerned about you. Because by the time it gets done, you will be a casualty of the war too. So, yes, it is about us all coming together and uniting and fighting for the country, fighting for democracy. I will say this, for people who have traveled outside of this country and gone to other countries, you know the difference between living here in the United States, where it is a land of paved gold, and for most cases. But if you've gone to other countries to see how they've lived and how they live and some of the things that they don't have is a system. The one thing that gives the United States a land up is it is a system. It has a system. It has mail. It has the U.S. mail. Postal is a system. The three government factors are a system. A lot of countries don't have systems.
Well said. Well said. Well, on that note, I think we should close the broadcast and let our neighbors, our friends and neighbors, get back to what it is they're doing. I think I'll read your bio one last time, and then
Mm-hmm.
we will call it a show for our audience. How's that?
All right, sounds good.
Well, everyone, this has been Conversations on the Patio with Crystal and Jevon. We have enjoyed chatting with you, and we'll be back next week. I'm going to read Crystal's bio here, and then I'll give her the last word, and we'll be done. So, everybody, please help me say hello again to Crystal Mitchell. She's a business coach and consultant. She's the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions, co-director of Recycling Black Dollars. She's the co-host of The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. It's another weekly online radio show. She's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College, a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor, and
And
QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. I'm Jevon Thomas, licensed retirement plan advisor. And Crystal, I'll give you the last word and we'll call it the day.
okay, so as John said, we're both a big component of planning, but this planning must be strategic because you don't have a lot of time. You really need to sit down and review your finances and your monies and your living expenses, and to make sure that you're prepared for whatever may or may not happen. But I will say, everyone, enjoy the holiday season. That's what I will say. Enjoy this time. You might want to be a little bit frugal on the gift giving, or give some gifts that really have a meaning for the future. And with that, but if you sit down and really have open conversations with your whole entire family on what the worst case scenario, not to say that is going to be the case, but what would be the worst case scenario and how would we survive in that process?
There you go. I can't say it any better than that. Thank you very much, Crystal. Thank you, everyone, for joining us at Conversations on the Patio. We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.